Hey, welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that is perfectly balanced, as all things should be, here on a Batman weekend, wherever you're listening, however you're listening. Thanks for making us part of your podcast experience. I'm your host, Max Mosier, here today, only with one other Infinity Bro, but I think we're going to get a lot of great perspective. I'm very eager to hear his thoughts. It's Infinity Bro Robbie. Robbie, how are you?
I am doing great. I have, like you said, lots of thoughts. This movie was a lot to digest, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, we have been on so we record on Zencaster, and we've been on here for like 30 seconds maybe before. We both were like, let's just dive in. Let's not even talk beforehand. This one's dense, and we got a lot to talk about, and it's going to be a lot. Was this like Christmas for you, Robbie? Because I know last episode you were talking about how your hype level wasn't high, yet it felt to me as the week progressed towards Thursday or Friday. I saw this Thursday night. Oh, we both saw it Thursday night. Room. As we got closer to Thursday night, it felt like my hype was getting bigger. Is that the same for you?
You know, surprisingly, no. I don't know what it was, but my hype wasn't too crazy for this movie until the movie started. And then it was like an instant like skyrocket. It was Dogecoin going to the moon.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
it was an instant like, oh wow, I'm not hyped enough for this, and I wasn't expecting it to be this good this early. So
I would imagine that was a blessing for you and your viewing, but we will talk about that in a bit. Some housekeeping items before we do that. We want to make sure that you're familiar with our rating system and how we rate things here on this show. So I'm going to go ahead and put that bumper right here.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
Additionally, I want to make sure that you know we're going to spoil this entire movie top to bottom. This is a spoiler review. It says it in the title of our episode, but I just want to give you one last warning to hop out. We're not even going to give you a review before that. We're just going to dive right into spoilers because Robbie and I are I think, itching to discuss this.
absolutely.
So this is your spoiler warning.
This is
Prepare yourself.
an Infinity Bros
Prepare yourself.
spoiler warning.
And before we get into all that, here in the Infinity Bros podcast, we love nerdy things. And what could be more nerdy than comics? Our good friends over at Brainy Pixel Productions and Mercy Way Studios have teamed up to create Chronicles of Faith, David, an epic retelling of the biblical story of David. We were able to speak with creators Brandon Hollinsworth, Yvonne Anya, and Ernesto Mena about the creation of this awesome series in a bonus minisode of the Infinity Bros podcast that you can check out. You can find it in the show notes. Issues 0 and 1 are now available, and you can check out some of the beautiful artwork in our reviews of these issues on the Daily Snap. Just click the link in our bio, go to theinfinitybros.com, and you can see that. Issue number 2 is currently being funded on Indiegogo, and we want to support these creators in this series so that they can continue to build the biblical comic book universe. So please check out the perks available to the backers on the link that we will put in the show notes. Make sure to check out Brainy Pixel Productions, Mercy Way Studios, other projects as well. The Indiegogo through March is in the link in the bio. How many times can I talk about the link in a bio in a commercial, Robbie?
At least 3 times, but a maximum of 8. Otherwise, that's all you're saying.
I am a big proponent in pushing people to the links in the bio. Always have been, always will be. We'll never apologize.
Do you think they've gone to the links in the bio yet?
No.
Shoot.
No way. Either you're clicking it 30 seconds ago or you're not touching it at all.
That's 100% accurate.
I don't know the data on that. I probably should go to iTunes and figure out what the data on that is. There's got to be some way I can look at how often.
It's part of the algorithm.
Sure. Yeah. And one more thing. Usually our typical logo is the Infinity Gauntlet, typical Infinity Bros logo, which is created by the same creator we have here. But just want to give a shout out to Jack Baumert, who made a special Riddler and Batman style Infinity Bros cover art for us given the week. So Jack, just want to give you a shout out. And if you haven't checked him out, he's also in the link in the bio. I know, another plug for the link in the bio. It's 4 minutes. We haven't talked about the movie. Let's get going on it. Robbie, I'm not going to hold back anymore. We're going to go ahead and dive into our reviews. But Robbie, you're not going to go first. you're not going to go first. You're going to have to wait a little longer because we're going to listen to Infinity Bro Mark's review. This came from Mark. We're the only three that saw it this week. But this was from Mark this morning at 7:57 a.m. I am vengeance. I am night. I am the Batman. The world's greatest detective is back on the big screen, ready to rock your socks off. Robert Pattinson brings to life the brooding comic book Batman to the big screen. Matt Reeves does a fantastic directorial work with this film. The story told is something I believe we haven't seen with a superhero movie to this date. As this movie was taken very seriously, there are tiny drops of the OG campy Batman and little Easter eggs of things to come. The portrayal of the other characters was also done with the same seriousness as the Batman himself. I'm literally getting goosebumps writing this, thinking about this movie. This Batman is moral Batman. This Batman is moral Batman. We have been wanting the one who does his best to get rid of Gotham crime and lift up those who try to do the same. This is the best Batman film to the release of this date. In my opinion, this might top my list of favorite all-time movies ever. This film is truly remarkable, and for those who doubted this movie would live up to the expectations, they were sorely mistaken. This is a piece of cinematic history, and no one can take that away from me or you. 69 out of 6 stars. In the immortal words of the collector, magnificent. Magnificent.
Wow. What a review.
Very strong review. Had to fill in some gaps there because Mark was probably so excited he had weird sentences going on there.
Sure.
Robbie, I'm going to go next. And I want to talk about my review. So as to give you the opportunity to have the last word, I think that's only fair that you or Mark get the last word on this one. So for context for me, I come into this movie, I've been pretty vocal probably since the inception of our podcast that I am not as big. I like The Dark Knight. It's a tremendous movie. Yeah. But I do not think it's like this groundbreaking piece of cinema that a lot of other people think. I think Heath Ledger's death really pushed that movie in a way that others didn't. And the most recent Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, I'm on the record of saying that's my Joker. And then second would be Mark Hamill. So to me, the title of the best Batman movie is completely up for grabs. And I think this movie definitely made a run for its money. I have never felt more pressure to give a movie a 6 on this show. I've never felt the pressure more than this one.
Sure, yeah.
I feel like if you're not coming with a 6, you better have some good reasons. And I think I have them. So I'm going to sit at a 5.8. I'm going to sit at a 5.8 and it's going to sound like I'm dogging the movie, but the flaws are very ticky-tack at best, but there are 2 big ones that I'll talk about as we go. But I don't want to talk about the bad stuff. I want to talk about the good stuff. The things I loved. Sure. I said this to our group, and I'll say it again. This is the best portrayal of a Batman villain ever, in my opinion, Paul Dano. I think it's better than any Joker thing we've ever gotten. The Riddler is haunting. It's frightening. And I think we're going to see a reimagining of villains moving forward in the Batman with this guy being a centerfold. I think Paul Dano did some amazing things here. He deserves an Oscar for this. This is tremendous. This is the best Commissioner Gordon to date. I know he's not commissioner in this movie, but Jeffrey Wright crushed it. This is unbelievable work by him.
This is the best Jim Gordon. I agree.
Yeah. Floored by how much Jim Gordon I got. And I was so thrilled with the relationship him and Pattinson have. Pattinson's great. There's nothing bad to say about Pattinson except for one major thing, and that's emo Bruce Wayne. And I'll talk about that as we go a little more. I have issues with that, which is what drops my rating. It's not like this is a bad movie, but this isn't a perfect movie that some people have said. So I'm going to give it a 5.8. I really, really enjoyed this. I don't think it's a perfect piece of cinema like a lot of people have said. I know Mark said that. I know, Robbie, you and I really like Chris Stuckman. He has said, he's on record with saying he wouldn't change a single shot in this movie, which I think is tremendous piece of review.
Wow.
I would go check that. I would go check that review out if you haven't. Chris Stuckman's great. I really, really love this movie, Robbie. It's going to sound like I don't, but I really, really love this movie. The 2 things that really hold it back from a full 6 to me are the some parts where it dragged and emo Bruce Wayne. I don't think that's how Bruce Wayne should be. Maybe in this world, a lot of people will argue it is, but to me, that just doesn't feel connected. But man, the Riddler that rocked my world. Could not have been more pleased with that. Could not have been more pleased with Catwoman, Commissioner Gordon, the Batman himself, and the surrounding cast characters. Congrats to Matt Reeves. He absolutely crushed it. He's got a trilogy on his hands if he wants it. And more. We're going to talk about the future too, dude. But like this bad boy, if this is setting the tone for 2022 for DC, this is going to be the best year of DC. If everybody can match, if every movie can match what this one did, this is going to be DC's best year, and we're going to forget about the Justice League. So I'm going to pass it off to you, Robbie.
You know what? I'm 100% I'm with you. Like this, and that might be a shocker to some people who know me and my like love for Batman. I felt that incredible pressure to give this a 6 as well. And I was laying in bed, and I went to this movie at 10:45 last night. It's a 3-hour movie. So I was laying in bed at 2:15 once I got home, and laying in bed and couldn't fall asleep because of that pressure I was feeling to make this a 6. And I tried talking myself into it to be like, this has to be a 6. Everyone else is calling it a 6. Why don't I feel that way? And I kept landing on 5.8, just like you. Like
Wow.
it's so close, but there are things that I didn't enjoy. I think there's some problems to it. And maybe problems is too harsh. Problems probably isn't the right word. There's ticky-tack things, like you said. One person said this on Twitter. All of the actors ate in this movie. The Riddler feasted. The Riddler made me like, it was unsettling, like what he was doing. And this may sound like a weird comparison, but in my line of work, working with children with autism, we see like a lot of kids doing like these sibbing and these like these vocals that like don't make sense. So when he's doing all that stuff, I connected straight to that. This is a genius who who doesn't know how to control his emotions, and then like his mind goes out the deep end because it doesn't know how to react. So I was able to identify that immediately. And be like, he is negative vocalization, is having negative vocals right now. Like, because his emotions, like, and Paul Dano's like way to act spoke so well in this that I was able to pick up on that. Like, he is negative voking because like the Riddler's emotions dealing with what the Batman was doing to him or saying to him, like, didn't compute.
Yeah.
They're the Batmobile scene when we finally got that bad boy, that thing became its own character. Maybe is it too crazy to say that's the best live action Batmobile that we've ever gotten?
Not at all. Not at all.
I think you could make a case for best live action, like on any aspect on this movie. Like you could argue best live action Batman. We both agreed best live action Jim Gordon. Best live action Catwoman, in my opinion.
Would you take Kravitz over Pfeiffer? Because I think I'm still sitting Pfeiffer. It's close, dude. I mean, Kravitz is close, and that's enough. That's tremendous.
I think you could argue it. That's the thing. I think this Penguin I like better because it's more realistic.
Definitely.
Like taking nothing away from Danny DeVito, because that Penguin is great for that world, but the world that Matt Reeves has created, this Penguin is better. This Riddler is better because it's more like comic book real, in my opinion. And I'll end with my review with this and why it's a 5.8. And I said this, I tweeted this out, so I'm just going to read what I tweeted out last night. Matt Reeves' The Batman is a love letter to its predecessors and an eye-opening experience to how much more Batman can be. Like, this movie, there's so many callbacks to old Batman films that you can make in this movie and to old Batman comics that you can make in this movie that, like, if you've been reading Batman for the last 20 years, this movie is probably a 6 or 10, whatever you want to rate it. It's that and more, because there's so much to grow on in this world. Like, he's made a comic book world now on screen that we are going to be able to, dive deep into with these HBO Max shows, and with Matt Reeves has said, with getting all of Batman's villains onto the screen at some point. Like, the building blocks are there for this to be one of the greatest, movie experiences of, to match Marvel. I'm not going to say like the greatest, but it's going to be up there. It could be that.
This felt like going to the next major Marvel movie. Like, to me,
Yeah.
I'll say my hype grew tremendously after Chris Stuckman's review. So I heard Stuckman's review on Tuesday, and when I heard that, I was like, I texted us and I said, Chris Stuckman doesn't say those things.
Right.
There are certain people saying this movie is a 6 out of 6, 10 out of 6, 10 out of 10, excuse me, whatever it is. And we'll talk about that in our ticky-tack stuff. But I think for me, walking away from this is a total experience. This was just like, this was awesome. And I respect Matt Reeves for making choices I would not have made. I would not have elected to make this a 3-hour movie. I would have cut some of this stuff out. I would not gone full emo Pattinson Gothic Batman. I would not have done it, but he did. And I respect it. And everything else surrounding it justifies those choices. It isn't my flavor, but it's still a heck of a great film. And I have no idea how Warner Brothers is going to be able to hold back from A, doing a trilogy here, but B, how are they not going to want to connect this with everything else? I mean, we've talked about it with multiverse stuff, and Matt Reeves has been asked this. He was asked by Collider, Frosty from Collider, and he said, "Hey, do you think a Superman could thrive in this universe?" And Matt Reeves said, "I didn't really build this Batverse per se to have a Superman." I don't know how WB can look at this and look at Pattinson's age and not try. I think they're going to get greedy on this, and I don't know how that's going to look, but it feels like we're kind of right back to where we were with The Dark Knight in some senses, but they have a full cycle of error to learn from. And to me, it feels like they've got the pieces to move forward. So I don't know, and we'll talk about that more, but let's get into some characters real quick. This movie's super dense, and we're going to bounce over this a lot. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to go in sequential order of this film. We might jump to the very end here, guys. So that's how we do things. Suck it up. Choose another podcast. We're going to get your listen anyway if you're here. So
you should have seen the movie already if you're listening this far, so it shouldn't matter where we go.
Exactly. My feedback and critique on this would be I didn't like emo Pattinson in the context of the dark eyes constantly when he was in the Batcave. It felt like he was depressed all the time. They took a depressed Bruce Wayne approach here, and I don't know if I appreciated that as much as it did, but Pattinson's chops to me were just tremendous. 6 out of 6 in regards to him in the Batman suit. How did you feel about his portrayal here? How did you feel Pattinson was? Because that's a big comparison too that people are making, right? They're saying, okay, is Pattinson the best Batman? Okay, is Val Kilmer? I'm kidding. I'm not saying Val Kilmer is the best Batman, but like Ben Affleck, are they saying he's the best Batman? Christian Bale, like where are you sitting at in the ranking of these guys right now, Robbie?
I think it's too early to call him the best. I think there is an argument that can be made that he might be the best just pure Batman. I think him and Ben Affleck as Batman are neck and neck because Ben Affleck had that intimidation factor and did a really good job like seeming like a force of nature kind of thing. And I think Pattinson and Matt Reeves with the cinematography did that very well. Like he's a creature of the night. Like the beginning scene where it's like they just see the sign and fear is instilled in them, and then he just walks out of the darkness with the boots going and everything. Like the intimidation factor is there, even though Pattinson, without the suit on, is not, I would say, not an intimidating guy. I am sort of on the same wavelength with you on him as Bruce Wayne. I think what Matt Reeves is doing, and who knows, but it seems like he's putting the building blocks for this Bruce Wayne, this Batman to continue to learn.
Yes.
Which is interesting because he's in year 2 already.
I think that's a strength here, though, Robbie. I think that's a strength of this film that it's year 2. I think it's a strength that, he's halfway really good at some things, and the other half he's learning. Like, you see the flight scene where he's jumping from the top of the police tower, or the scene, where he's driving the Batmobile that clearly he's been recently working on and recently developing. I think that's a strength here, and I loved the choice to go year 2. Because it's so, I heard it said by somebody. They said, if you want to write a great pilot, you write a pilot, you write the background information, you write all the things you want your audience to know about the characters, create the plot, blah, 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 blah. then you put that episode in a bag or in a box and you write the next episode. That's your pilot. Episode 2 is your pilot. And I think that's what Matt Reeves did here. And I think it filled these gaps that, because the Batman mythology is so well known, Robbie. Everybody's seen Martha and Thomas Wayne die. I think that was a huge strength here for
multiple
Reeves.
times.
This really helped Pattinson. This was a layup for Pattinson as his Batman. To me, I feel like he didn't have to. He just had to say expressions with his face, and that's where I get in the frustration of like, okay, you're just constantly depressed.
Yeah, the fact that when he's out in public and he's still like this mopey, depressed guy, like the fact that no one was like, this guy's definitely Batman, like didn't make much sense. Like it just doesn't fit in the realm of Bruce Wayne and Batman, because he has to do both well. So maybe like he has to learn that, and maybe that's why we have the new mayor. What's her name? Is it Belle Ray? Belle Real.
Belle Real.
Like,
yeah.
Maybe she brings that part out of him.
Bella Real.
Bella Real. So maybe that's part of it, because she was obviously like trying to harp on him, like, you have to be part of the city. Like, people need to see your face. You're, the son of Gotham. The Prince of Gotham. That's what you are.
Yeah.
So maybe that feeds into the next one. And we do finally start getting like Bruce Wayne being Bruce Wayne, the person that he has to be, the philanthropist, the man who's out in the public eye, like random girls, because he has to do that to keep, appearances up. But yeah, my when I said year 2, I meant like he's in year 2 and hasn't figured that out yet. He's just a recluse.
Yeah.
Like it was that was a little odd to me. Because I feel like that's something that Bruce Wayne should figure out earlier on. But it seems like he's learning. This whole movie felt like a Batman who is still, like, even though it's year 2, is still learning literally every day. Like this whole movie was over 7 days, like of real time.
Yeah, and I was okay with him learning. I got no issue with that. I think for me, it's that with like the relationship with Alfred. Alfred kind of looks like he doesn't really want to help him. And I'm like, that's not Alfred in the slightest. Right. Alfred is all in on helping him. He's the number 2. He is just as invested in Batman as Bruce Wayne. That felt off kilter to me, but I'm not going to call that a issue because it's year 2. That's my philosophy on that. I think I can give that space for Matt Reeves to make that choice. Interesting. So I got a couple questions I want to ask you throughout the podcast. This is one since she got brought up, and I just don't see us bringing her up again. There's rumors going around that Bella Real is going to be the next Two-Face, that's the route that they're going to go. They're going to maybe consider her for Two-Face because she's the one that's going to rebuild the city instead of Harvey Dent. And that would be an okie doke, similar to the vein of Alfred getting, that bomb in this episode.
Right.
Do you think that's a possibility? Could Matt Reeves try to make this decision and totally throw the canon on its head?
That would be really interesting, and it wouldn't. I don't think it'd be interesting in the canon aspect. I think it would be in what they already built in this first movie. To really flip from what they've already done seems like a long shot to me. But Matt Reeves has proven in one movie that he can pretty much make whatever work. I don't see that being what happens. I think with all the officers, all the corrupt people that were in the city council and everything going down,
right?
I think we're going to see other people rise up, and I think we are going to get a true to life Harvey Dent. I don't see them going away from that. I'm probably, this is probably too early for in the podcast, but I think the next movie is going to be more of a Hush film. This movie was very Hush-like.
You talked about this earlier too. This movie references everything.
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 Batman Noir, references Hush, Long Halloween.
Hush. Long Halloween's like the first like 10 seconds. I mean, this movie references everything. I mean, year 1 Batman in some regards, right? Like, I think it's referencing that with how clunky he is. Yeah, I'm totally with you, and I'm digging that.
Well, in Zero, the motorcycle is literally from Zero Year Batman.
Yeah,
Like,
dude,
it's the
that's
exact same thing.
crazy. I mean, that just yeah. Matt Reeves does that so flawlessly. That's where Mark's assessment's really on par. It's like, yeah, he crushed any form of reference to the previous stuff, and like even some of the stuff they did was like, oh, that's similar to the Dark Knight. I think of the scene at the end where the Riddler blows up all the bombs and the city goes crazy. I'm like that's shades of Joker and shades of how the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight
Right.
Rises was kind of doing things. It's different. It's a different person doing it, and the way they go about it was different. But I thought that was fascinating too. Well, you talked about it, so let's talk about the future here for a second, since we're here, because I want to give the other characters their moment of sun. Barry Keoghan's in this one. He was one of my favorite actors in the Eternals movie. It had been rumored that he was going to be in this for a while, and the rumor was that he's going to play Joker. But that's the other rumor that's coming out, is some people think he's going to play Two-Face. After watching the end of this movie, where do you land on who this guy's playing?
In that scene, I kept going back and forth. I think, like you said, maybe there's a rope-a-dope here, like where he did the laughter thing, and they're like, oh, it's actually Two-Face, and he's just trying to, like, get the Riddler to be on his side, and he's trying to laugh to, like, because he realizes that the Riddler, although very smart, can be manipulated. I would side on that it is the Joker. I think that's too much of a rope-a-dope and too much of a stretch to me, that you'd have him laughing like that for that long and be like, no, it's not the Joker. I don't think there's a rope-a-dope here. That's the Joker. He also fits the build of a Joker.
Dude, the way he looks
makes sense.
He's a tremendous actor.
Very hateable, very punchable face.
Yes, 100%. I hated his laugh. I will go on the record and say it's a 2 out of 6 laugh.
Hate the laugh.
2 out of 6
people
laugh.
People online loved it. People online loved it, and I also think it's ridiculous. That laugh was awful. I hated it.
It was an awful laugh. I don't see the vision, and I hope they fix it, because if he is the Joker, that's the worst laugh to date out of all of them. Every single one of them. It's the worst one.
He just shouldn't do Leto was like, ha, ha.
I would take Leto's over his right now. I think it's that bad. I just and then with that assessment, I don't count, like, I could have put that in my review of this movie, him, but I feel like that was a tease for the next movie, and so I felt like that was not fair to include that in the review, because that's a 10-second
in a Marvel film. That's an end credit scene.
Exactly. It's a post-credit scene. So that's why for me, I was like, I can't include it, but I just had to slip that in there. I don't want to talk too much about him because we don't even know where we're going with the rest of this. Let's talk about some other characters here. We talked about Pattinson. I'm going to give his Batman a 6 out of 6. I'm going to give his Bruce Wayne a 3 out of 6. What's your ratings of those two things? Because I think those are two different characters.
6 out of 6 Batman. It's hard. I'm just going to do a neutral 3 for his Bruce Wayne. I think it's just he's a building block.
Let's talk about Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle. We talked about this in the review, dude. She is so good in this. I don't think I'm crazy to say that. You think that as well. I think Pfeiffer's better, but Pfeiffer's iconic, and that's the only reason. Kravitz kicks the crap out of Hathaway as far as I'm concerned. This is so good. The chemistry she has with Pattinson, man. I mean, she's going to be the love interest for however long this bad boy goes. This was so good. I loved her on screen. Had a blast. I love the way she was introduced. I love everything. I love that she is early on in her little career, air quotes, if that's what you call it. I love the twist of her, who she's related to. I think that was tremendous, how she's related to Falcone. I love the ending with her, how she is like entangled in all of this. I really, really enjoyed Kravitz in this. Strong 6 for her. And I think she might get some Oscar nominations from this too. I think her and Dano are going to be the two that get looked at in this film.
She did so well that there's a chance that there's going to be a Catwoman solo film. And I think she could carry a Catwoman solo film.
Then it better be on HBO Max. That's my only like qualm on that.
Sure. And maybe it's not a film. Maybe it's a series, because they could do a series on her too, which would be just a crime thief series. Like, it'd be great. She could carry it though. I think is what I'm really trying to say. She could carry the screen by herself. It's interesting that she's going to Bloodhaven, and it's to me, it makes it unfortunate that this Batman isn't further along and we don't have a Nightwing in Bloodhaven, because then I'd be like a Catwoman, like and a Nightwing Bloodhaven movie. I think could be really really cool, and who knows what the future holds. That's way beyond where we are now. That's 10 years down the road if we really want to get into the Batman universe.
And for a guy that's saying he doesn't want, like, Matt Reeves was talking about this is the only Batman movie he was going to do for a while there, and then like now he's like talking about a second one. He sure did a lot of building blocks for other movies.
Doing a Penguin show. They're like
the
there's a lot going on.
Arkham Asylum show. It's crazy. Yeah. I agree. Kravitz 6 out of 6. I think for both of us. I don't know how anybody's not give her a 6. I don't know how anybody's not going to give her a 6. She's great. Jeffrey Wright. This, aside from Dano, is the best performance in the movie to me. I could not believe the relationship that they set up with him. I loved how would I put this? It was very informal, their relationship. I appreciate that he's the only person in the room that can speak in a joking fashion to Batman, and Batman says nothing or acknowledges him seriously. I really appreciate that about this Jim Gordon. I appreciate that you can sense this Jim Gordon's integrity just by the performance that Jeffrey Wright produces. Jeffrey Wright's in control of every scene he's in. He clearly has charisma, but also he commands the room of the other policemen on his force, even the ones above him, to just be able to wave his power and bring Batman in. I love James Gordon. This is tremendous. 6 out of 6. Jeffrey Wright, man, is having a great 2 years.
Well, you and I love Jeffrey Wright because we love him from Westworld. Like you and I have been
he's great.
High on the Jeffrey Wright train.
Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his Jim Gordon. This is probably the best Jim Gordon. I wouldn't go as far to say as he stole every scene that he was in. But he definitely commanded some attention. Like his presence in the scenes enhanced.
He makes the detective Batman so much better. It's like he is his Watson. Because Alfred typically in the comics or in the other ones, he's the Watson. Or Robin would be the Watson. I thought that was cool that Reeves made that decision to kind of, give Alfred the ciphers, but
they made Alfred the father figure instead of the Watson in this one.
Yes. And I respect that. That was different.
And maybe let's move on to Alfred because
let's talk about
on him quick. I didn't, and this is one of my nitpicks, is that I didn't get the fatherly figure until it almost seemed like they were shoving it down our throats. Does that make any sense at all? I don't know why I got the feeling. It's just like,
no, it didn't. That choice didn't bother me. I think Serkis is believable in that. I think for me, the bigger qualm I have with Alfred is the fact that he wasn't helping. Like he was kind of like judging Bruce for being Batman still. And I didn't like that. It's like there's one person in the whole world who should not be judging Batman for being Batman. And that is Alfred. Alfred knows the entire history of him. He raised him. Alfred taught him to fight. It's like he's like sitting there like he's also depressed that Bruce Wayne is become Batman. And sure, that says a lot. But where Alfred really served this movie was in telling the Wayne connections at the end. And you find out the Wayne parents were entangled in some stuff, which blew my socks off.
Well, and that speaks to the differences of this Alfred compared to past Alfreds.
Yes.
Like he's not like there hasn't been an Alfred that I don't like. Our previous episode 108 of the podcast, like we all agree, there's no Alfred that's never been unlikable. Andy Serkis is just different to the point where he almost doesn't feel like an Alfred because of how they decided to go with him. And it's not a knock at him. He did great. It's just he's not your prototypical Alfred, where he's also the one that's helping, like you said. So it's interesting the way they went. This is a comic book. For me. Go. Yeah.
Just for clarity, I'm still taking Jeffrey Irons over him. I think after this, I think Irons still crushes it in the Batman versus Superman Justice League Snyderverse.
He did not get enough time.
I think
he didn't get enough time.
I think I'd still take Jeremy Irons, but that's just me. Serkis is still great.
Serkis did incredible, but to hit on the Arkham information that we got, for me, as someone who's read far too many Batman comics,
Yeah.
I thought that was coming. So that
Okay.
wasn't a huge surprise to me. Like, I was like, there's going to be a connection with Arkham here. Like, early on, I was like, they're talking about the Waynes being like corrupt. And that's been a story that has been a storyline a few times in a lot of different Batman books where the Waynes are actually corrupt and Batman finds that out and like can't deal with it. But to hit on that, I didn't see them going Martha Arkham and being like she was in Arkham a few times. I did not see that coming. So I want to put that out there. I didn't see all that coming. I saw that there was going to be some corrupt stuff that the Waynes were trying to hide. I saw that coming. But I think they did that really, really well. And it spoke into the detective side of this, which is, this is our detective Batman. And I didn't speak on that in our
100%.
review, but this is what I wanted. It's what was delivered. And I'm so thrilled that we got this side of Batman.
It's what sets this movie apart. Like if you're going to say why this one, the people that are going to say this is the best one, I believe Mark is on the record of saying this is better than The Dark Knight. I believe that is what Mark will point to, is the detective side of this Batman. And the best part about it is we're only going to see him get better as time goes on. Let's talk Colin Farrell. Holy buckets, the prosthetics on this.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
He looked great.
I mean, great for being the way he looked in the movie.
Yeah.
So I listened to Hot Ones with Sean Evans on the way home. I was traveling this week, so I was just listening to Batman reviews basically the whole week. And he talked about the prosthetics. He said he went to a Starbucks the first time he had this. Nobody in the building recognized him. Like, he told them he told them his name, and they were like, "Oh, like the actor." He's like, "Yeah, like the actor." Like, this is some of the best hair and makeup I've ever seen.
He's unrecognizable, and he does a great job. I'm glad that we got him as the Penguin moving forward. There's going to be, it probably sucks for him because he's going to have to now do a show and all of that, and he's going to probably sit in a chair for 12 hours a day just getting that stuff put on him. He said
they got it down to 2 hours, so 2 to 4 hours is what he was saying on Hot Ones. Yeah, I mean, he was good. I wouldn't say he was like a standout in the film.
No, but he was an integral part of it.
Sure, he's a cornerstone you need. Let's talk Carmine, then we'll talk Riddler, because I think Riddler we need a lot to talk about. So, Falcone, you saw that kind of ending. Oh, question. Sorry, I have to ask you one more question. Back to Alfred? Did you think Alfred was going to die when that bomb went off?
I did think he was dead. Like, I thought he was dead at first, and then obviously they didn't even leave you guessing. They just showed you. But yeah, I thought he was going to die, and that was going to. I didn't know where that was going to go. That raised some like instant questions. Like, are we going to get like a full blown, extremely dark Batman, and he's going to go down the rabbit hole and just start murking fools? Which would have been the wrong choice, and I'm glad they didn't do that. But yeah, I thought he was dead. I thought Batman was going to lose everyone in this first movie, which would have been wild.
I'm glad they didn't. I think it was the right choice, but I'll tell you what, it sure gave me a spook. It worked. I believed he was dead for a bit. Carmine Falcone, John Turturro, excuse me. Got to give this guy some credit here real quick. Yeah. So I've been watching Severance on Apple TV, 4 episodes in. This is a great show. If you're not watching this show, I strongly suggest you check this out. He's having a killer year with that role and this role. I thought he was so good in this role as Carmine Falcone. So frightening. I totally believed his hands were in everything. Yes, it is referenced in Batman books, like what you're talking about here. But I thought for sure he was gonna kill Catwoman there for a little bit too. There were so many times where I was okey-doked. I thought things were gonna happen that didn't. And that's testament to Matt Reeves and his storytelling. But I think making him the father of Catwoman was great. Just kind of having his hands be dirty in the Wayne's history, right. Man, that was there's a lot of casuals who are that's gonna blindside them. I really, really like this. I love Turturro did a killer job. Very menacing. It's a bummer he's dead. It would have been great to have him in the future. I think he would have been one of those people rising to the top of Gotham.
Yeah, unfortunately, he became a stepping stone for Penguin to rise to power, which is great. And I'm glad that we got a really good Falcone in a movie, because we've gotten like hints of the Maroni and Falcone stuff in past movies, but it's never been the real focal point of the movie. So I was really happy that we got that, because in the comic books, their hands are in everything, just like they were in this movie. They're involved in the Penguin, they're involved in the Joker, like they are an integral part of the Batman universe, and they don't get talked about enough. You can do an entire movie almost like this, just based on Batman trying to take them down. So it was really awesome to see that connection, and for Matt Reeves to go that way and to give us that in-depth look at like just how dirty this city is. And speaking just for the Batman, like the whole start and kind of the theme of the movie was he's been doing this for 2 years and everything's just gotten worse, right? So he's been the Batman for 2 years, and everything, crime, murders, theft is up. So like whatever he's doing is not working. He's like, people are scared of him, but it's not changing anything. So you have to bring in this Falcone piece and take him down and have the Batman be the one to do it, to actually change things. And that's when at the end of the movie, they start talking about things are changing. We're learning, we're getting better, and more people are standing up, which became kind of the story of this movie. Like this movie is a lesson. It's a lesson for Batman.
Yeah, definitely. It's a building block. Let's talk about, I think, my favorite character in the movie, Paul Dano's Riddler, who is the overarching presence in this film. He is the main antagonist and the person single-handedly moving forward every plot device. Even to points where I thought the plot was done, he kept pushing things. And you talked about it in your review about how this felt hauntingly realistic, with obviously Dano referencing the Zodiac Killer being one of his references. Mm-hmm. Social media has taken to new heights. We obviously use Twitch, but it felt like a Twitch component to this, a network, a Instagram live.
Yeah, like a dark web Instagram.
Yeah, kind of just some freaky stuff here that really you didn't kind of see coming, but Matt Reeves had a very clear and concise message to say around this subject, and around the subject of individuals, incels, if you will, online, who feel abandoned and not taken care of. And this is a great foil in terms of storytelling, of both came from the same orphanage per se. Obviously Bruce Wayne didn't go to the orphanage, but he was there at Thomas Wayne's thing. And we find out Thomas Wayne is kind of the starting point for this villain's origin story.
Right.
There's a lot to say about Dano. I've talked a lot, but I want to give you the floor. What do you think about this portrayal? And dive a little deeper into this villain and where he ranks for you all time.
So as you guys know, Heath Ledger's Joker is my number one. Like everything Batman related goes back to the Dark Knight for me. Right. So while watching Paul Dano's Riddler, all I was thinking of, this is all like Joker inspired. It's very, very similar to Joker in the way that he does everything, which is he doesn't pass Heath Ledger's Joker for me. But I can understand if he does fine. For people.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But like, just to go from like, he has his hands in everything, even though it's kind of almost, it doesn't always make sense that he knows what's going on. He's learning. So what I really picked up from the first scene that we see him in is that this is a man who, like Batman, is growing in his role. Like when he falls over after hitting, I'm blanking on the first mayor, the mayor that he kills.
Yeah, the mayor. Yeah,
I'm blanking on his name. But when he falls over, like after hitting him, like this guy has not done this before. Don Mitchell. So this is the Riddler's origin story as much as it is the Batman's. He's just starting out. Like he falls over when he hits somebody. Like what kind of genius murderer does that? Like he messes things up, and he seems almost sloppy to a point like when he's trying to have conversations with Batman and he can't keep it together. Like, and like you were talking about, like the dark web Instagram, like that is 100% a callback to Heath Ledger's Joker, like the
Totally.
Joker with the camera, like sending it in the mail, like you can't tell me that's not like, you know, an homage to Heath Ledger's Joker.
100%.
The interesting thing that I found interesting was that Matt Reeves decided it wasn't like tens of thousands of people follow him. Like he doesn't have these like all these diehards. It's 500 people.
Yeah, dude, that was so freaky realistic. Freaky realistic.
I think in a movie, a lot of directors probably would have gone, 10,000 people are following him, and they think he's like the savior of the city and all that. It's like, I don't think that's really realistic to the measures that he's going. He's a terrorist. Like, he's legit a terrorist. 500 people followed him, and maybe
60 showed up at the end.
Yeah, I was gonna say 50. Like 50 to 60 actually showed up. Like there's only 50 to 60 actual diehards. Like he has 500 people that are like kind of had to have his ideology. 60 people will actually follow through. And that was realistic to me. I think that unfortunately could be accomplished by somebody.
Totally.
And this is third act stuff, because I think a lot of people have issues with third act. I have issues with the third act.
Me. I do.
Yeah. I didn't like you said, where like you thought the plot was over and it kept going. That was my big gripe, that it went too big to me. Like bursting the sea gates or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And flooding the city, and then everyone goes to basically Madison Square Garden, and I was just like, that just didn't fit.
Too much.
Yeah, they went too big.
Yeah.
They went too big for me. I didn't think they needed to. I think they were trying to make this, grand third act. And there's parts in that third act that I would 100% take. I love some parts from that third act, but there's a lot that I'm just like, we didn't need to do this. Like, we could have cut 20 minutes here.
And if I'm going to take a third act in a Batman movie that's going to terrorize and disrupt a city, give me The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Give me what
Absolutely.
Joker did. Give me what Joker did. Makes more sense. And then the whole, okay, the plot's over. No, it's not. Then we go Harvey Dent Two-Face. That felt more smooth than this.
Like, I feel like they could have gone, like, the Riddler and his 50 men capture a handful of like selected officials, and they
capture the mayor, threaten to kill her unless Batman unmasks himself. That's all they had to do. And it would have been great.
I don't think he wants Batman unmasked. I think he likes Batman being Batman.
No, he did.
Which is why he didn't connect the dots that he was Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Which was wild to me. Everyone did.
Yeah. At the end, I was like, oh my gosh, he just revealed him. But then like he okey-doked him again. He's like, yeah, that Bruce Wayne. I was like, oh my gosh, hold on.
Yeah. And Bruce Wayne's like, wait, you mean me? Wait. You don't mean me.
Yeah. Bruce Wayne's flipping out. Yeah, dude, that was.
Well, and that speaks to Matt Reeves knowing the Riddler, because the Riddler, and this is some people's gripes with the Riddler, that he's supposed to be so smart. Why doesn't he realize that Batman's Bruce Wayne? And in some books he does, but in a lot of books he doesn't, because the Riddler has this ideology about Batman and about Bruce Wayne that they can't intersect. Like, it doesn't make sense in his extreme IQ can't connect those dots for some reason.
The Riddler continues to be a villain because he's trying to solve that riddle.
Right.
And that works perfectly. Also, I want to keep talking about Dano, but they didn't kill him, Robbie. They didn't kill him. They kept him alive.
Right.
Thank God.
I know. They're building the rogues gallery.
You and I feel like we hold hands on that point. It's like these movies kill these guys. And I thought for sure they were going to kill him. I thought for sure, or he's going to kill himself. I thought for sure.
Someone was going to kill him.
Yeah, I really did. I was so thankful he didn't. Yeah, I thought for him to have the opening scene, that opening scene, murder scene, Robbie, was so dang scary.
Yeah, he just shows up in the dark.
He's so scary, guys. This is an unhinged guy. This is different. This felt the most realistic. I think that's
It's
why I was so scared.
uncomfortable.
It was uncomfortable because I was like, this is real. This felt real across the board. Didn't like it. Have you seen Prisoners, Robbie? Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal.
No,
Paul Dano plays a character in that movie. All I will say is if you enjoyed his portrayal in this, I suggest you go watch Prisoners. If you have kids, it is a triggering subject of your kids getting captured and tortured. So just know that. But
I don't like that at all.
Right. It's a crazy movie, but he has a massive part in it. I think that's part of the reason he got this role. So we're sitting at 50 minutes right now, Robbie. There's a lot of things that we've talked about. Let me just quick couple questions for you just as we kind of start to close out.
There's so much to talk about.
There's a lot, I know.
Did you like the journal piece of it? Did you like him like reading, like narrating like what's going on in the city?
With Nirvana in the background?
Dude, you have no idea. Like I was talking about my hype at the beginning when like they connected Nirvana, which is Nirvana is my number one band. Nirvana was like my awakening band in high school.
Yeah.
They connected Nirvana and Batman, and I was like, this is the greatest.
This is where
right away I was like, this is a 6. This is a 6.
Yeah, the Nirvana music was tremendous.
Yeah. So how did you feel about the narrating?
I could have gone without it, but I again, I have to say there's a lot of things I wouldn't have done that Matt Reeves did. But I respect it because Reeves decided to go with the classic noir, dark city that's always raining, yellow and black and red tint. And that's just the goal. He said, this is what I'm doing. Buckle up if you want. And I think Mark would say this if he's here. Buckle up. This is the direction we're going, whether you like it or not. And I respect that. And so I think for me, the journal entry was, could have. That's something I feel we could have shedded to lower the time. Because I do think 3 hours is a long run time in this bad boy. And I don't know if I'd call it an origin story. I think I'm calling this the first film for this character rendition, but I don't know if I'm calling it an origin story. I didn't need it, but it gave me more insight into who this character was.
I just got big Rorschach vibes. I think that's where most people would probably go. It's just Rorschach. You got Rorschach out of that, and I really enjoyed it. I love that he's like keeping track of what he's doing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which speaks volumes to him just continuing to learn. I don't know if we needed the narration at the end. I think the narration at the beginning to like set the scene for him being like very dark and like people being scared was good. I didn't really think it was necessary at the end. That would be my only maybe.
Storytellers are going to say they got to close it the same way they started, though, right? I mean, like that's kind of it's a storytelling thing. This Arkham Asylum show. What are you thinking about it?
It's always interesting when you go from a movie and you gotta then build off of that. They have to be able to use Pattinson. Like we have to be able to use all these characters. If it's another one of those where all these characters aren't accessible to us, why are we doing it? Who's carrying the show?
I don't think WB's ever going to let Batman be used in a TV show. I've said this for years. You want to make a killer TV show that everybody and their mom watches? Make a Batman show. Make a live action Batman show.
No. Make an Alfred show of when Alfred was young. I think that's what they should do. Oh, wait, they did that.
They're still doing it. They're like on season 5, aren't they?
No. Make a Jim Gordon show.
Yeah.
Without Batman.
In another world. In another world where everybody's fleshed out but Batman.
So just one little gripe, because it's going to happen. You brought it up at the beginning that WB is going to be like, this is really, really good. People are really
There's
excited.
no question. Yeah.
And they're going to try to put their hands in it and connect it to all these, to like a Superman and everything. As much as I would love for DC to make a world like Marvel did, I think that ship has sailed.
The only way this works is if they go multiverse. But even then, I don't think they should.
I think they're trying to say there's a multiverse without being like there's a multiverse. Like they're gonna make everything like connectable in the Flash movie. But I'm on the fence, but I'm leaning more towards being completely against connecting this to anything else. Because then WB is going to get their hands in it. They're going to change things. It's no longer Matt Reeves' direction. It's Matt Reeves wrote something and then WB changed 75%, and Jose Whedon comes in and ruins it.
No one is allowed to touch this but Matt Reeves. If Matt Reeves says we can connect this to Superman, then connect it to Superman. That's my opinion. Can WB have the stones to say that?
Yeah.
That's the question.
I think it would be hard at this point, making this Batman already as vulnerable as they did. It's interesting. The what I can only assume was Venom at the end there, when he hyped himself up like an early form of Venom.
That was crazy.
That
was insane.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that's an early form of Venom that Batman decided to use. That's the only way Batman could work in a world that Superman also exists. Because this Batman right now can't even glide around a city. I honestly, and people might disagree with this, they could have cut that scene completely. I thought that was not needed.
I think they needed it to show how youthful he was and how behind the eight ball he was. I'll tell you what, that was painful to watch.
It was painful. That
was awful. That was like Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2.
It's just another nitpick. It's like, if you're going to be, that's the way he has to fly, or maybe he's just learning and like, maybe he'll come back to it. Maybe like the next movie, it's like, we have to figure out like how I can get around the city faster if I get high up, and they address it.
Batman doesn't make the same mistake twice though.
That's true. But yeah, like a glider suit won't work for Batman. That's just not going to work. Yeah. I don't know. I just didn't love it. But like I've said, this whole movie has so many building blocks to it for future Batman movies I can be okay with a lot of those decisions. The only decision I can't be okay with is the third act and flooding the city. I thought
that was just what I was going to ask. Flooding the city felt so weird. Like, I understand they're trying to clearly the vision is in the next movie rebuilding the city and leaving it brand new to another type of world.
Do they call it Batman Renewal? Because renewal is the big thing in this one, and now it's like legit renewal. They could call it Batman Renewal. I didn't love it. I thought it was unnecessary. I think you and me both agree that like you didn't need to flood the city.
Yeah, it felt weird. It was like such a like. It felt like Reeves was. I don't want to hear that Reeves didn't think about a second movie. Matt Reeves is totally doing a trilogy here. He totally
Hopefully
is.
More.
He's making too many weird choices. Like, again, like they made such a big deal about Barry Keoghan being in this. I mean, they made such a big deal about him. He was on the red carpet. The rumors were flying. He's making jokes about it in interviews. Like, there's totally a second movie. Now, he may just be in the background in the second movie, and then the third one, he's the big dog, right? Like, I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, this, I did not like that Matt Reeves for years, because we've been talking about this movie, Robbie, since episode 22 of our show. So that was crazy. That felt weird to look back on that. But for him, early on, he was like, yeah, this is its own standalone thing. And then for him to make choices like flooding the city, putting a potential Joker in this movie, there was some things that like, even the Thomas and Martha Wayne stuff feels like shades of Court of Owls to me.
Right.
And that to me seems like the logical third movie. To me, it feels like Joker in the second one, who tears down New Gotham, and then Court of Owls does basically the same kind of idea as Bane did in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Then you can say whatever you want after that. Hopefully by then you're adding, other members of the Bat family, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, have you seen that they think that the mayor's kid could be Red Robin?
I totally picked up on that.
By the third movie, I think that's a realistic thing. And maybe in the second movie, they hint at it. I don't think that kid was really young. The kid was like 8. So maybe by the third movie, there's a possibility of Red Robin. And like they hinted at it, like they put him in a red like ninja suit to begin the movie. Like there's some things. There's a lot here. Like we could obviously talk much longer on this movie. We're glossing over a lot here.
Yeah, I think we are too. I think we're going broad strokes on it. I think for me, it's just, this is so tough not to give this a 6, even despite the things I'm saying. This felt to me, no matter what, So like take off all the negativity I've said. Matt Reeves did a tremendous job here. Michael Giacchino, tremendous score by Michael Giacchino.
Oh, absolutely.
This score
might be my favorite Batman score.
This is great. This is so good. Yeah, and I mean for Pattinson, who for years has been typecasted as the Twilight guy.
The sparkly vampire.
For Paul Dano, who really just is he finally found that role where he can be full-fledged creep. Because the guy, not to be mean, he's not getting many rom-com deals. You look at the guy, you're like, you're picking computer nerd behind the screen or incel Riddler.
Yeah.
So I think for me, this is just a really, really great total, like it was time to shift everything away from the Snyderverse clearly with WB. Matt Reeves said, this is the vision I want. WB appears to the last 3 years finally let their directors do their thing with Gunn and, now here and then with Jenkins. So I think this is great. Again, I said this at the top of the show. If 2022 is a sign that the directors get to make the final say in their movies, I think we're in for some great films here with Shazam, Flash, and Aquaman. And I don't know if they're going to live up to this, Robbie.
Black Adam, you mean?
Sorry, forgive me. I said Shazam. Yes, Black Adam.
Shazam comes out next year.
Well, Black Adam, we've been talking about that for 15 years. So Black Adam to me has to be like amazing because I've talked about it for far too long in my life.
Yeah, we do not waste The Rock.
But Reeves had a vision he executed. I'm not going to listen to people say that Reeves had an amazing vision for one movie. He's clearly got a vision for 3.
Right.
That's my opinion. I think he told them I want to do 3, but I'm going to sell it as 1 and really get the people going. So, but props to all of them. I think they did a great job. I'm looking forward to the next one.
How was your theater experience? Because this, to me, and I think you had made the comment that you could have watched this at home. Like if this would have been on HBO Max, you would have watched it at home.
100%.
This movie in the theater was one of the best movie experiences I've had, and I was in a decently nice theater. It's like a step down from an IMAX, where the music rocks the chairs. Basically, the score in this movie and the screen and everything made this movie so incredible. Like this, you need to see this movie in the theaters. I would say that to people.
That's a good way to put it. I think there's very few movies that I've seen where I go see this in the theaters. This is one of them.
For the score alone, because you'll never get that replicated at home.
No, I agree.
Like a $10,000.
I think I'd be saying everything I'm saying right now if I saw it at home. Even Giacchino. I think I would say that too. But that's just Max. I just give in and pay the bill anyway. I complain about it, then I pay the bill. That's my shtick. It's my shtick. So, what did you think of the Batman? If you watch this movie, we'd love for you to join us in the conversation. You can check us out on Discord, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also email us at the Infinity Bros Podcast at gmail.com. Robbie, thanks for coming on, and here's to hoping that the next rendition of the Joker is worth it.
It's going to be really, really interesting to see where they go. Man, there's so much more that we didn't talk about. I can't wait to talk more about this.
Yeah, I think we'll try to maybe circle back with Mark a little bit.
We got to wait for some more bros to watch this movie. Only 3 of us. We need the other 3 to see this movie.
I think so too. And I think a second viewing really will help my experience on this.
I'm with you. I'm going to take Jess as well. So we my beautiful wife, Jess.
Oh.
My wife. Yeah, we need to go. I'm excited to see this movie a second time, especially knowing what I know now going into it. I really want to dissect that third act and see if it changes on the second viewing.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what I do too. Can't wait till this one comes out on HBO Max.
45 days, I believe.
Can't wait. I'll be ready.
Zane has a countdown.
I'm sure he does. Well, Robbie, thanks for coming on. Thanks for making time for us. And thank you, listener, wherever you listened, however you listened. Thanks for making us part of your podcast experience. Hey, if you reach this far and you haven't left us a rating on iTunes or Spotify, we'd love if you leave us a 5-star rating, and we'd love to read it on the show. I will probably make fun of it, but I still would love for you to do it. And you can make fun of me in the process too, and I'll be forced to read it. I won't have a choice. So we love you guys, 3000. We'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros Podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Infinity Bros. Feel free to send listener feedback via email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.